All right, we're back for another episode of Creative Retrospective. And my guest for this one is presenter. Does he like being called a presenter? We'll get into that. Chris the Capo, longtime radio host on Rinse FM. He's also worked within other UK platforms. You might have seen on Linkup TV. He's been in the industry for a while. But again, we're going to break down what does that mean to Chris. But what I'm going to start with you, Chris, is how are you? Because I know you like to start off with everyone when you're presenting yourself. Let's start with,
Yeah,
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm in good spirits. A bit nervous.
Mhm.
Just that's something else. Just because of Arsenal are playing shortly. So,
Of course. Yeah.
as always, I'm always
Mhm.
nervous whenever these guys decide to play. But
Mhm.
aside from that, I'm well, man. How are you? How is
I'm
everything?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. I'm glad to be here. Well, I want to start off with you, Chris. It's gonna be way back. I'm gonna take you all the way back to
Ah,
2011 or so. So when you went to uni, because you're in a part of a different era, like I always say, the way I explained it with Nasha in the previous episode was he's like an older millennial, I'm a bit more of a younger millennial. But in terms of the things he experienced, I was there, but I experienced it in a different way.
okay.
So when I was like a teenager or so, um, I'll give the clue for the fans, like let's say Bigger Fish and stuff like that. There was the
Yeah,
Funky
yeah,
House
yeah,
era,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That
Cool.
good era.
So
Yeah.
obviously you went to uni towards the end of the Funky House era. So what was that like in terms of like being in that scene for people who don't know?
Do you know what? Funny enough, I went to university originally in 2010. So I went to two universities. I went to University of Bedfordshire, but was in the Luton campus.
Mhm.
And um, let's just say it was interesting. Yeah. It was interesting. It was
Mhm.
very interesting. Where university was just secondary. So I moved to Staffordshire,
Mhm.
based in Stoke-on-Trent. But being to answer your question, being in university around the Funky House era, it was it was vibrant, man. It was so
Mhm.
vibrant. And it's funny that we were doing a lot of entrepreneurial things, but we didn't know it.
Mhm.
So, for example, the DJs and MCs were touring nationally, but we didn't know it. People were
Mhm.
doing events management, but we didn't really know it.
Mhm.
People were doing social media management, but we didn't know it. People were doing content creation, but we didn't know it. All of these things that are second nature for your typical presenter, DJ, artist, or events curator or content creator. These were things with second nature to us because we were just from that era. You know, BB pins, going around handing out CDs for various events, handing out flyers, going to different universities, whether it may be in the Midlands, in London, or up north, or down south, or anywhere along those lines. That's what it was, but it was so vibrant, and you could tell there was a wave of what was happening and what was going on, but we just didn't know. There
Yeah.
was no set structure to it, if you
Mm.
want to say that.
Of course.
But I think the best way to to recap things and the overview of it would be Lau and Scott jumpers, would be
Yeah. Yeah.
True Religions and
Mhm.
Levi jeans, 501s would be, Ralph Lauren
Ed
trainers, Gucci
Hardy.
crepes, Ed Hardy, sunglasses in a
Mhm.
dance, would be Shambalas, would be the wooden Jesus piece chains as well, would
Yeah.
be um the cubic zirconia crosses or
Mm.
Cuban chains. It will be all of those type of things. We'll be wearing body gilets in a dance, a Ralph Lauren gilet or a Lauren Scott gilet, or being Gucci from head to toe as well. Saying that, it just brings back PTSD. As a horrible picture I saw the other day of me in like all Gucci in a
Yeah.
dance,
Yeah.
and I was thinking the first thing that came to mind is, where is all of that now? And I remembered it's in Nigeria.
That's how it usually goes.
My mum sent it off.
Yeah.
Mum sent it off, and I
Yeah.
remember it was in a bag, and I thought, what happened with this? So I remember there was like a Louis Vuitton belt in there. There was a Gucci belt. There was a Gucci V-neck. There was a bunch of like Ralph Lauren jumpers and all sorts. And I was just thinking one day, I was like, what happened to this bag?
Mhm.
I was describing it to her what this bag looks like and blah blah blah. She's like, yeah, I sent it back home. I went, what? I mean, so when
Why
this,
do they always do it without telling you? That's the
yeah,
question. Yeah.
You know what's worse? One bastard cousin sent one picture to me one time, and I was just thinking, I don't even like this cousin from back home. He sent this picture, and then I end up seeing this prick wearing. It was my stuff he was wearing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like reporting his account for spam. But it is what it is, man. It is what.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like I said, I can relate to that in terms of like the Lyland Scott. I was like a big Lyland Scott guy. I was like Lyland
Yeah,
Scott out every
man.
motive,
Come
like
on.
Chavis. So yeah, I mean, funny
That
enough,
was
you speak about your mum, right? Because I think you said on a podcast episode, it might have been No Cappy, where you were like,
yeah.
because you're at Bedfordshire and you know things happen, right?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
like
yeah.
your mom was like, I'm not gonna visit you at uni. You were like, what's
Yes.
going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why it was part of the reason why you went to Staffordshire. That actually
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. So basically, what was going on, not to go too deep into
Mm.
it, but like university was secondary to us.
Mm-hmm.
And one by one, friends of mine were going.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to, on pay visits to
Yeah.
Her Majesty.
Yes.
Let's say that. They were paying
Mm-hmm.
visits to Her Majesty. And I knew this is coming too close to home. Sooner or later, it's gonna come to me.
Yeah.
And like coming back home, I was coming home pretty late because I was originally living in Luton, but there were times I'll run home
Right.
for a
Okay.
few hours, then go back,
Mm-hmm.
run, come back. I'll be out till mad late, or I'll
Mm-hmm.
just come on random days. And yeah, she just said to me, she's like, I'm not visiting you. And secondly, whatever you're up to, you need to stop. I used to think, what does she mean by that? Like, how do you know what I'm up to?
Yeah.
But looking back on it, I'm like, brother, it was so blatantly obvious. It was
Mm-hmm.
so obvious. So yeah, I made a conscious decision. No one forced me to. No one told me you have to move or anything. It was me that just
Mm-hmm.
made a conscious decision. One day, I remember just sitting on a train from London Bridge to Luton, and I remember just thinking, this can't be it. I can't do this anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just one day just sent an email to my personal tutor and said, leaving. I'm leaving. I'm gonna find a new university. And because I knew Staffordshire was an NCTJ accredited
What does
university,
that mean, sorry?
so as a national certificate for training for journalists or something along those
Oh, did
lines.
you study journalism at
So
Staffordshire?
I originally studied broadcast journalism.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I knew that it was accredited for that. So I said, you know what, let me go to this university, give it a chance. And yeah, thank God I got through. And I just knew it would be a new beginning being in Stoke-on-Trent because I knew no one there. Well, I
Yeah.
thought I knew no one there. I
How
thought
uni
I knew
goes,
no
right?
one there. But yeah, I just wanted a new beginning as well because yeah, being in London, you already know around that 2010, 2011 period that London wasn't the most safest of places,
Yeah, because that was
especially
around the time of the riots, I believe.
yeah, that was around the
Mm-hmm.
riots time, and
Mm-hmm.
even before then, where there was a lot of my
Activity.
yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
activity, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my friends. Funny enough, some of them are just getting out now for that
Mm-hmm.
activity that was taking place from back then, So
Mm-hmm.
you can only imagine that was what 14 years ago, 13, 14 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
some of them unfortunately are just coming out now because of that activity. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just didn't want to be another statistic, man. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to be another statistic. So I just thought, yeah, let me just leave. But yeah, mum definitely played a big role in that. She played a
Of course.
massive role in that.
Yeah, shout out to mum, man.
Out
And
to mum.
I think with one thing I've like has always struck out with me with you, Chris, is like, and again, I don't even know when we first came across each other. It feels like, you know what, I think one thing you're really good at is that when people meet you, it's like as if someone's known you for longer than they actually have, because you're just
Yeah,
very like
yeah,
inviting
yeah.
and like you're quite charismatic. And even when you talk on like radio, it's very like polished and proper. Like, have you always been this charismatic guy, or like was it when you studied broadcast journalism at uni, did you build up? Like, where
Ah,
did this come into it?
you know what? If I be honest with you, firstly, thank you for that. I
Mm,
really appreciate that. I would say this goes back to primary school.
right.
So every educational institution I've been in, I've always been the only person. So from nursery to primary school,
Mm,
I moved areas. I used to live in Deptford. So as a
right. Okay.
kid, so I was born in Deptford, but I will always say I'm from Forest Hill because that's where I remember
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
So from age 4, I went to a primary school. I knew nobody. So I had to make friends. I had to, link up with people and I had to be social. Same thing from primary school to secondary school. All my friends went to one specific secondary school. I went to another one. So I had to make new friends
Mhm.
again. and I knew nobody. It's just me.
Yeah.
So I done that. Same thing with sixth form. All my friends went to one sixth form. I went to another sixth form.
Yeah.
So I had no choice but to make friends. Then aside from going to Bedfordshire, when I was in Staffordshire, I didn't know anybody. So I had to make friends there. So it's always been something that's a second nature of to be charismatic, to be social, to, you know, go, not to say I go above and beyond, but do that extra bit. Because I know, so for some people, first impression counts. And I've known
Yeah.
this from a kid. Your first impression counts, you know. So yeah, that's where it comes from, I would say. It's literally from a child of being thrown in the deep end of having to make friends. So whether that may be in school or even around the area, or we'll go to a different area to play football in the playpens, or I'll go to another youth club or something, it would always be that I was always thrown in the deep end where I just had to make friends. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say that.
Okay, cool. And again, I want to move on to, I guess, the post-uni world for Chris and what that looks like. Because again, one thing during my research, I was trying to figure out, okay, what was life before we know Chris now? He's on the street, he's doing all the interviews. What was Chris like before? And one fun fact that I personally did not know was that he used to be an artist, right? He used to be part of AF1 way, way back in the day.
Oh my
Yeah. And
days! How did you find that?
and not even that used to be. I think there was one. I think there was one BBC One Extra where he was with like 6-7 or something like that. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it,
yeah.
yeah. I was like, oh
I
my gosh,
recorded it.
yeah. So is there an alternative world where we don't get Chris the presenter, the interviewer, we get Chris the artist?
I used to
Talk to me
spit.
about
Yeah,
this.
I used to spit. So originally, how everything started, even down to when we talk about the activity of things, was I used to spit. I used to love spitting, man. That was my thing. Around, so I'm from Forest Hill, Lewisham Borough, and from there was, I would say, the most prominent figures. You know, obviously like your P Moneys, your Little
Of course,
B,
yeah.
your Blacks, your Genders, your Ennies, RIP. It would be those guys. Like those were like the older lot for us. And then my age group were, I don't know if you've seen like the P2J project, Hands in the Air.
Yeah.
That was like a year or two school years. There's a year or two older than me. So those are the guys I used to be in or around, of spitting wise, of them, or my boys from Lewisham and Downham, Grove Park and Catford. That was us. So yeah, it was their grime times. Yeah, man. In a humble way, I can't lie. For my age group, I was the best. I was the best for my
You were
age group.
trending. You were on like
Man,
Linkup and stuff. Yeah.
man knew like I was one of the best for my age group. And then as it got on, then it transcended into rap. But obviously with these activities that are going on, I'm slightly like rapping like that, but also the best way to say it was I was rapping crud, but I knew I had a conscience. I had a conscience, if that makes
Yeah, I
sense.
get what you're saying. Yeah.
So I knew, okay, badness is happening around me, but I'm not saying I'm doing the badness, but I'm around it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of introspective rap. And it was very witty with words, very, very witty with words. But then I realized as time went on, more and more when I was rapping, I just realized I don't like being on camera. I don't like spotlight. I don't like the spotlight. I don't like being the main focus. I don't like it. And also, I never liked my voice. If I'll be honest, I'll give you the exclusive of why I stopped. I hated my voice.
Hey.
I felt like it wasn't harsh enough. I felt like it wasn't, you know, deep enough. I didn't feel like it was unique enough as well. Because I'm hearing cadences and voice tones like a Gigs, or the complete opposite, like a Gunna D or Fix Dot'em, or I'm hearing a smooth type of approach like a Avellino or a Wretch or someone like that, or, you know, the grittiness like Ghetts or something like that. I felt like I don't sit in any of those categories. Where do I sit in?
Yeah.
Then I realized the main thing was I hate the camera. That when people spit, what you spit, I'd be like,
Yeah.
a little something. Like I always knew I was never gonna blow as an artist. Like I knew I was never gonna. And I realized that I love music a lot, but then I realized I love music that much. I don't need to be an artist. I don't need to be in the forefront. So yeah, it was that. But yeah, no, I used to spit. Man. Damn, I thought I deleted all them traces of everything. bruv, damn.
Hey, it's just there's nothing on YouTube. Don't worry about that. It's just very small. Hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry,
Yeah,
people.
man.
That I won't share my searching secrets. But yeah, like
Nah,
you got to the
respect
point.
it.
Like you were like trended a couple times, like on like Twitter and
Yeah,
stuff like that. Like you were
yeah,
kind of a big deal. So yeah, it's interesting that was kind of a part of Chris that people
yeah,
didn't know.
man.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, moving on. So like now we're in a phase now, okay, spitting's kind of put to one side. So no,
Mhm,
it feels like now you're trying to figure out, okay, you still love music, you still want to talk about music. And you
mhm.
spoke about being like at uni and people were like being artists and managers, people being DJs and stuff like that. So I guess the next person I want to talk about is P Montana, right? Because he's someone who's
My
known for
guy.
quite a long time, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it's someone you worked for when you were doing Rah Boy music. This is way back.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so for people who don't know, Rah Boy music did like basically events management, did stuff like in Dirty December, even as late as like last year and stuff like that.
Mhm,
I
mhm,
think you were like an artist manager or something like that.
mhm,
So yeah,
mhm,
talk
mhm.
more about that. What was that like working
Yeah.
with him?
P, that's my guy, man. That's someone I will always have love for. I will always respect. He is the best DJ in my eyes. He is the number one the number one DJ to shut down the dance,
Mm-hmm.
shut down any type of vicinity. Yeah, with P, I was always a fan, still am a fan. And when I was, so funny enough, in between that period and when I just left university, I was working as an assistant producer at Radio 1 and 1 Xtra, an Asian
Right.
network. So I worked there, and P was one of the first DJs that I wanted to bring through. He was the second. First one was Kenny Allstar. Second
Mm-hmm.
one was P Montana. So with P, I was just helping him how to get through, giving him any DJ slots, anything along those lines to help him. And at this time, he was at Radar Radio. So as he was at Radar Radio, I used to visit him a lot. I used to go to Radar a lot just to hear new music, see what's going on, but also build with this new internet station because I just knew something's gonna happen with these guys. Like
Yeah.
something is gonna happen. And this was during the time of where it was just it was there was they didn't even have any videos or nothing. Like it was the beginning of Radar Radio, the proper
Yeah.
beginning of Radar. And then from there, kept on bringing P into 1 Xtra. He eventually had his month mix slots that he was doing on Sian's show. That was the show that I produced on. And then after I left 1 Xtra, P told me his plans about him wanting to launch Rah Boy as an independent label, and that Red Bull had approached him, and he asked, "Oh, can I help him?" I said, "Yeah, of course. Like I'll help you with this. I'll help A&R everything. I'll help with any connections, anyone within my network that I can help with expanding the the standing the awareness of this
Yeah.
project. I don't mind." So yeah, literally from there we just continued and we continued doing events. We done singles. We obviously
He did a listening party for the first one at Red Bull
yes at
Studios.
Red Bull. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was a good night, man. That was a
Mm-hmm.
good night. That project. When I look back at that project and see some of the names that were on there and what they've gone on to achieve, I think, wow, NSG. This was just after Yo Darling came out.
Okay.
NSG, Tion. Funny enough, it was a song with Miss Banks and Tion Wayne. So we were the first ones to have a Miss Banks and Tion Wayne song. P Montana can
Yeah.
actually say that. And funny enough, that song came about when Miss Banks had recorded the song herself,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a time when Tion just came out of jail and he was in the studio downstairs with Penthouse, and he came upstairs to hear some of the songs. Then he heard a Miss Banks tune and he went, "No, I need a verse on here." And this was literally, I think it was a week before we were about to submit everything.
Right.
And Tion was like, "No, I need a verse on this tune." So he just spat a verse. So and then yeah, from there that was a tune there. Who else was on that? Who else featured on that? NSG, Miss Bank, Lotto Boys at the time that were massive.
Mm-hmm.
Tobes at the time was massive. Shauna, Sade, she was massive at that time. SNE was massive at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Lotto Boys, I did say. Yeah. Um, yeah, it was quite a few people that were on
Yeah.
there. But I think the main ones that stood out the most of how grateful they were NSG, because they were the first people. That was the
Yeah.
first tune. That was the
Yeah.
first tune. And I just remember the amount of people that were coming to the studio. Every day we had someone new coming to the studio. Every day I was in that Red Bull Studios from like 11 in the morning till about 1, 2, 3 at night.
Jesus.
And that was Monday to Friday for a month, which
Gosh.
was epic. That was absolutely epic. Same time this is going on in the big studios. AJ Tracy's recording with Jay Huss. And the
Oh,
same
right.
time in the big studios, Krept and Conan are recording there. Same times in those big, like that Red Bull Studios was a massive hub for a lot of people to connect and link up. Because a lot of people were there. Red Bull were allowing a lot of people to record in their studios at that time. Yeah, so from there, we released it. We done the carnival stage. We also done so many brand events, whether it may be Ray and Nephews, Dr. Martens, God, Apple Music, Spotify. God, there was so many events that we links, Boiler Room, so many Boiler Rooms that we done. Yeah, it was epic. It was epic at that time. And at the same time, launched Brenya as well, where we worked with Brenya. They were managing Brenya, that I was sort of like co-managing as well. But her main managers were P and Funks. Who else was there? Tommy Agape. There was quite a few people. Even Rico Squeeze that I was working with personally. I was working with a lot. And again, there was quite a few projects that I worked on as well, aside from just other people I'd made friends with on my journey. So yeah.
Would you go back
to managing?
Yeah.
Never.
Why is that?
I was talking to someone about it the other day. Like literally, I think it was Sunday. I was talking to someone about it, but they asked me, and said, "Yo, would you manage again?" I was like, "Never." I think reason being is with management, you have to be super selfless and understand that it's not your time anymore, it's the artist's time. And I just feel like at this stage of my life and career, I am fully focused on, not to be selfish, but I'm focused on Chris the Capo as a person.
Of course. Yeah.
And I feel like I won't be able to give an artist 100% of what they deserve. So yeah. It's that really. It's nothing negative to do with artists. It's literally just the way that my life is set up now. I think it would be unfair.
Makes sense. Yeah. And you spoke about working at One Xtra as assistant producer. And I think it was Sian Anderson was there at the same time.
Yeah,
Sian Anderson. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask this just for the sake of fun, right? There was this meme, where I think you're in the studio and you're looking like a bodyguard and you're looking super serious, mate. I'm gonna add it to the description because it's so fucking funny.
Please do.
Like, please tell me the story behind that. Why do you look so serious in the studio?
All right. So with that, yeah, firstly, that session was going on for so long, and I'm like, yo, we need to wrap this up. You men are taking too long. We need to wrap this up, firstly. And secondly, as well, obviously you won't see it because we edit everything, but there were so many pauses, and there were people that were like, they were stumbling on lines or forgetting their bars or things along those lines. And I'm just like, this is gonna be a headache for me to edit. I'm literally just sitting there.
Yeah, literally like that.
I'm just thinking, bruv, this is gonna take so long for me to edit. I can't wait to get this over and done with. And that's all I was thinking, because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking I've only got a few hours that I need to record, that I need to edit this, make sure it's ready to come out and everything along those lines. And because they kept swearing so much, they wasn't fluid with the bars, they wasn't flowing well. Because during that period, drill sets were new.
Yeah.
Drill sets were so new, and trying to tell those drill artists to spit for 20 minutes like the grime MCs do, with tunes being mixed in and things along those, they didn't get it. They didn't understand, because they're not from that class of going to the youth clubs and spitting bars for an hour or anything along those, praying to get the mic. They're not from that class. So when they were doing this, I was just sitting there thinking, all of this is so long. And the only person that was really impressing me in that, not to be rude, was, I think, was Burner.
Right.
And Pounds. Yeah, because I remember it was Burner, Pounds, Diz, and Little M Dot. I think it was them four. And Diz, I had so many high hopes for. I had so many high hopes for her, man. And it was just like, didn't do it, man. Didn't do it. Not to be rude to her, big up to her, but I was like,
of course.
Do it, man. And then, yeah, I just remember like this. I was like, And I
Yeah.
remember when I saw that comment, I think it's the pinned comment or something like that. And they made it a meme. And I was just like, fucking hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you bringing that back has just made me go all the way back there, because since then I haven't seen that video or seen that meme since. But yeah, man, I was a meme. I was a meme. I was a meme. Yeah,
yeah. I wanted to know why you were so stressed, but it makes sense. Like,
yeah, no,
yeah,
them were pissing me off that day, man. Just spit, man, and remember your bars. What the hell?
Yeah. I don't know, people who have never done like any sort of like editing, it's like, mate, the more people kind of like mumble or like they come in and out of stuff, it's like, just like, oh bro, I'm gonna have to like make this, because the thing is, you have to make it seem seamless to the public, right? So you got to make sure it kind of flows perfectly. When people are making it, they're doing their hardest to make sure it doesn't flow perfectly. Exactly. It's so annoying. Exactly. So yeah, I can relate to that.
Hard, especially when they say certain bars they're saying, I'm thinking, oh, I have to take that out. Oh, you're cussing this person. Oh, I have to take that out. Oh, I have to throw in some sound effects here. Oh, you forgot your bars here. I'm gonna have to do this to make you look good. Oh, you didn't spit well on that beat. Oh, I'm gonna have to take that part out. Oh, you said free this person and that person. Oh, I'm gonna have to take that part out. That's all I was thinking. And I was like, bruv, I hate you lot. That's all I was thinking in my head. I hate you lot right now. I hate every single one of you.
I mean, so we go from you not being liking to be in front of camera, right? So now you're more of a guy in the back. You're doing producer. You're in the industry, so to say. But then you're also a personality now. You're a writing personality, so to speak. People are asking, like, okay, when's Chris's show coming out? So then you had Welcome to the Zone to begin with on SoundCloud, right? And then the year after, you now have Played in Full, where you have Jude and Scully, who are also and they're both music writers. What was it like working with these two guys? This is way back then. Obviously now they're prominent, but what was it like working? This is kind of like your first kind of like, okay, this is like a music podcast that's kind of like going on for an extended period of time. What was that like working with them?
Do you know what? I always say, we was talking about this, funny enough, a few months ago, where I said to them, the biggest mistake we made was not being consistent. But I understand why we didn't, because we were all in a weird position at that time of we were just going with the flow.
Right.
We knew that podcasts were the next wave. Welcome to the Zone. I remember doing that podcast in 2015.
Right, yeah.
In 2015, I recall the only podcasts that were out at the time was Halfcast wasn't even out at that time.
No, it wasn't. No.
HC podcast wasn't. It was Chucky doing solo monologues by himself and uploading it onto YouTube, or doing interviews with people and uploading it onto YouTube. People like him, people like...
there was On Topic talk show as well, stuff like that as well.
On Topic, yes. So there was that. There was Michael Payne as well, who had a podcast around, I think it came out from SBTV around those times, where he had a podcast Off the Cuff that just came out.
Yes,
that time
just started,
as well. So we knew, I knew from early, podcast was the wave. And this was during the period of where you didn't need a camera. It was just audio. Audio was good enough. Because I used to listen to a lot of American podcasts. I used to listen to Combat Jack, Taxstone, Deezus and Mero. Those were the guys that I used to listen to originally. And yeah, working with them guys, it was one of the best experiences that I learned a lot from Scully and Jude, that you can unapologetically be yourself. And they added a lot more structure, and they were very creative. The only thing that I'd say that we lacked was consistency, and there will be random spurts of energy we'll get one day when we're like, no man, we need to take this serious. We never know what could happen. This could happen, that could happen, and then it just won't. But I understand what that is a creative burnout. And it may sound confusing, but when you're a creative and you're facing a burnout, is that some days you'll have random moments, spurts of energy, where you'll get these bursts, these boosts of energy out of nowhere, and you'll try your hardest to execute everything, but then it just won't work.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you have so many YouTube channels that are like, oh yes, I'm definitely doing it, and it gets like 10 videos, and then they're like, oh, okay, you know what?
There's nothing after.
Yeah, and then they have like a relaunch and rebrand, and like, they have a couple episodes, and then they're gone. Like, I think people underestimate how hard it is, even on audio. Like, I think the Vinyl Collective got to like 107, but to do that every week is like, looking back, I'm like, I don't even know how we did that. I think when you're just... I think part of you just has to kind of not even think about it. I know it sounds weird. You have to see it as like a job. I know people don't like seeing that, because I think everyone thinks, oh, it's creative. So it's like, it just comes. It's like, no, you got to have a schedule. You got to make sure you kind of like abide to it. And it's not oh, I've got this later. Oh, I'm going out later. Like, no, we said 7 o'clock every week, so this is what we're doing. And I think, especially at different times of my life, I've definitely have found that hard. Like, if I started doing like podcast stuff like that at like 22, 23, I would have never stuck to it because I was at a different point in my life. I wanted to go out, I wanted to do things, you know. So I really understand that.
It's literally that, and I think that's the one thing that people underestimate, especially when you're not earning anything. If anything, you're going into more loss.
Yes, it all
More
costs money.
financial loss. You've got to spend money on a studio. Then you're losing time of creating assets, especially now we're in a day and age where you need to create social media content on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube Shorts, on what else, on Twitter.
Yeah.
That all of these things, all of these platforms, all of this hard work that goes into it. You sit on CapCut editing all of these assets, or going on Canva trying to make different types of image episode images and different assets, and you're thinking this is tiring. And sometimes you may click on it and see in the first hour you had like 4 plays, and you're thinking,
and you're like, man, all that work that went into
that
it.
work for what? What was the point? But it's consistency.
Yeah. And it's an investment, right?
It's an investment.
Yeah, and it does pay off because it gets to a point where you do get your first big break. And again, this is no shade to anyone like who are listening, who are like radio, but I think there's a difference between online radio and actual radio in terms of I'm gonna turn on my car, I could turn the dial, and I'm gonna hear Chris the Capo. So in like, I think it's March 2019, you get your big break. Like, you know, you've been doing things here and there. You even start working for Linkup, which we'll get to before. I know you worked for Linkup before this, but this is like I'm working for a radio show. I have a slot every single week. What was that like in terms of Written FM?
I'll be honest with you. It was one of the best experiences. It's one of the best experiences. Rinse took a big gamble bringing me in. They took a massive gamble bringing me in. And because you're my guy, I'm going to break everything. I'm going to give you a few exclusives that nobody has known. So originally, I had been trying to get into radio since 2014. Right. 2014, I had submitted demos to represent, got turned down. I had submitted so many demos for Radar at that time and got turned down. I think I done about 3 demos for Radar and got turned down. To a point, I thought, what the hell more do I need to do? That the only places that were giving me chances were, I think it was Pulse 88 that wanted me to, but it's too far. It's in Northwest. I said, I am not going all that way for radio every week. That's ridiculous. I'm dedicated, but clearly I'm not that dedicated because that's ridiculous. And there was just other radio stations that I thought respectfully, I don't benefit anyway from being there. Does anyone even listen to this radio show, this radio station? Do we know it exists or anything along those lines? So with that. And then what happened was Rah Boy. This is why I always big up P. P is the most selfless person ever. P had a Rinse shouted P and said they wanted him to do a residency. And P said, I don't want to do a residency by myself. I want it to be under Rah Boy so I can do it with everyone else. So cool, that was going on. Then there was one day where no one could do it except for me. And P said, you might as well take it. Just do the slot. So I done the slot with Rinse, and P said, you know what, that was really good. You should just continue it because this is actually kind of a burden for me.
Oh, I think you featured on the episode like a year before or something like that.
Yeah. After that, then he was just like, bro, this is such a burden. I don't even want to do this anymore. Like, you might as well just continue it. And I asked everyone else, I'm like, yo, you sure? Like, do you want me to continue it? They were like, Chris, this is you. Do it. At the time, it was Eugene that was working with Rinse. And funny enough, we had started our journey together as we both done a training day together at Rinse back in the day together. And he was just like, yeah, Chris, it's time. Like, I think you should do a slot. Let's see how it goes. He gave me, that's one March where I had my first show with Rinse. Was it even 2019? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, it was 2019. Yeah, it was 2019. So bro, I don't know. Even you knew that. I didn't even have thought it was 2018, but yeah, 2019, where I'd done the first show, and after that show, I remember the team was just like, bro, that was so sick. Do you want to come again next week? I was like, yeah, of course, no problem. Done it again, done one more show. Then they were just said, you know what? Yeah, we want you to stay. Like, we want you to have a weekly show. Oh, finally, I finally got a show. Perfect. So yeah, from that Rinse show, that was great, man. Some of the guests I had on there, I look back on it and think,
You had some I'm gonna do it for you, mate. You had some absolute bangers, especially before your time. Like you had people like Nux, who's obviously Nux. You had Hamza. You had Ghetts. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. You had Tinchy Strider. You had Blade Brown. You had Jazz Caris. You had Link Hustle, K Trap. A lot of these people. It sounds crazy now, but these are people like they were either a year or two away or just before. Like you had some, I don't know who picked the guest, but I think some of the selections were insane. Like Geordie as well, like Mo the comedian. This was again before he's doing his world tour and stuff like that. Like you had some absolutely incredible guests. Yeah.
Krypton Conan.
Krypton Conan. Suspect, 90s Baby.
Yes, 90s Babies.
Yeah.
Young's Tef, Tiny Boost.
J5.
J5, yes. Oh, God. No, man, I had a sick show, man.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rinse. You fumbled the bag, man. I had one of the best shows on there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Shaka and Ray Black. Obviously, Ray Black, someone I listened to very heavily as well. So yeah, no, a lot of people, and I think it came up to like 66 episodes you did at the end of it.
Yes,
a lot. It was an insane amount of episodes. So, like you said, so you mentioned it a little bit there. We might as well get into it. So yeah, why not continue? Like, why not just be the mainstay? Why not be the face of Rinse FM? What happened there?
I think what happened with Rinse was, so there was a period of time where I wasn't consistent with radio.
Right.
Where I was getting sick. Well, I was sick a bit, but also there were some days where I just felt so discouraged. Where I was like, bro, what's the point? And at the time where I was working for Believe, I was working as a artist relations manager, and it used to clash a lot.
Right.
Where there'll be some days where I'll be working, and from 3 till 5, I'll book fake meetings just so I could do radio.
Yeah.
Little things like that, because I just was proper wanted to chase this thing, but at the same time, I wasn't in a financial position of where I can just stop work and be fully dedicated to radio presenting or podcasting or content creation or anything along those lines. So I would, so it came a point where I just wasn't consistent enough. And then I asked them, can I change to fortnight? And they were just like, you know what? The way that the station's going at this moment of time, we don't even think we want presenters anymore, that we just want to be a DJ-led radio station going back to the essence. I was like, you know what, fair enough, cool. So yeah, we just both mutually agreed just to go our separate ways. But yeah, with Rinse, bro, that was one of the best experiences, man. And they took a mad risk. They took a mad risk, and credit to them for it. Credit to Rinse for it.
Yeah, and I think it was going well in your favor, right? Because in the midst of it, so you're on radio in 2019, but then No Cappin comes in 2021, right? And you have like 9 episodes. And again, some of the guests here are great as well. I don't know if this was intentional by you, but it feels like you were focusing more on getting people within the industry and sharing the stories within the industry. Because of one thing you did, I think this was for like Guap in like 2017 or something like that, when Visions Bar was closing, right? And you were like, I mean, obviously, I know you're feeling different now, but you're like, I'm glad it closed. It's just benefiting all industry people.
It's still F Visions Bar, bro. I hope this mic, I hope you can hear me clearly on this. Is this mic working? It's still F Visions Bar. Nothing will ever change. I hate that place. So glad it's gone. I'm glad it's gone.
I mean, I only went there like once or twice, right? But then when you said, it kind of like benefits the industry people, right? I was like, I didn't even know it was geared towards that. But going back to the show, I feel like you were kind of, what you did, I don't know whether you were doing it consciously or unconsciously, but I feel like you were shedding a light on, okay, here are people who work in the industry, and here's what it's really like, quote unquote. Was that your thought going into it?
Yeah, exactly that. When we done No Capping, firstly, big up Rinse. I want to say big up Rinse. I want to say big up Havana Club, but I want to say they effed up my vision as well at the same time. They really effed up my vision, because I didn't want to do some of the episodes that they pretty much forced me to do. I feel like with No Capping, what I wanted it to be was more based on the people.
Right.
Based on the people. And what they wanted and chased for was a viral moment. And the blueprint that I used was like 90s babies. Because I'm still to this day, I'm a big fan of 90s babies. I remember when 90s babies, when they were on Radar. I remember when 90s babies was just an audio pod. I remember 90s babies from What Day, from early. I remember where it was literally just Fred and Tem.
Yeah.
Like I remember them with the Dipset anthem intro. Like that shows you how much back.
That's way back.
That was the blueprint that I just said I want it to be with real life people and just real life conversations and the insights of me as a 30-year-old. That's how I pitched it to them. And what they saw it as, the blueprint that they used and compared it to was Gasworks.
Right.
They wanted me to be a bit gimmicky, ask certain questions, certain topics, have that viral moment with these bait artists. And I was just like, I don't feel comfortable with that. And one thing I've always shown on this journey is integrity of I don't want to be seen as a gimmick. I don't want to be seen as asking raunchy, wild questions and things like that. One thing for sure that I've always said from the beginning, from when I started, from 2014 till present, is there's two things I don't speak about in depth. One, I don't talk about at all is sex. I don't talk about that because I have nieces that are young adolescent ages that they Google my name, and I never want them or their peers to look online and see their uncles talking a madness. You feel me?
Of course, yeah.
And secondly, another thing I don't talk about is like private relationships. Like I don't talk about that because I don't want anyone that I'm dating or in a relationship with or anything to be forced into a forefront of
course, yeah.
Just because of my occupation and think that or what I do. I don't want that to be a front. So if I'm in a relationship, yes, that will stay as an illusion because you won't see that person unless you're a close friend of mine or anything like that. But yeah, there was just going back to that, I just think that they kind of ruined the vision of what I wanted to do. I'll give you another insight that one of the episodes I actually had for No Capping, funny enough, was it was a conversation with, and this person actually, I know it seems contradicting, but it was an ex of mine, but she was trying to get into the content mode herself. And we both agreed saying, you know what, let's do an episode where we just have a breakdown of like what happened with our relationship.
Oh, right.
How did everything go? But let's do it with a relationship advisor there as well. So
wow, okay.
We both agreed to it. And they were like, she was like, yo, that would be a sick idea. Because we're both cool with each other now. And we're really cool. And we knew it wasn't going to be a thing of airing each other's dirty laundry or anything like that. It was going to be a grown conversation. It was going to be a very amicable conversation. So, Rinse and Havana were like, nah.
I think in terms of what is viral moments, I feel like
that would have been it.
That would have been it. That's quite spicy as fuck.
That would have been it.
Yeah.
That would have been it. But like, nah, don't see it. Don't really think that would be best. We think, let's try to do an episode with you and ZZ Mills. I was like, I don't know ZZ. I don't know ZZ Mills. And credit to her.
Yeah.
Lovely person, great work ethic, beautiful woman. But I said, no, I don't want to do that. Yeah, but we want names, we want blah, blah, blah. I said, you know what? The best thing I can give you of where we can meet in between the lines of where I'll kind of be happy and give you Henry. Let's do it. Let's do the Henry episode. That's how you get that Henry episode. And credit, love to Henry every single time. But that wasn't the plan. That originally wasn't the plan.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Big love to her. It was a great conversation, great episode. Probably one of my favorites, but that wasn't the plan. That wasn't the plan originally. So, and
I think as a creative, right, it's so important that you have some sort of control over your direction. And everyone who's been on the show so far, and I've spoken to on like the Vinyl Collective, all that stuff, like no matter where they kind of stop in terms of where they get in the industry, whether it's like Linkup or Mixtape, whatever. You would think, I think a lot of people from the outside would think, oh my gosh, no, but you're in the room, and why would you want to say that, man? Everyone almost everyone has that point where they're like, actually, no, I want to do this by myself. I kind of, I like what the perks it may give, where I can speak to my favorite artists or I can go to certain events. But in terms of content, I feel like there's your soul is in your content, right? So it's like if I'm kind of putting it out and it's kind of not me, but then people are looking at that thing like it is me. It's a weird world to live in, isn't it? Because like if I'm putting out content, someone's like let's say you did like relationship stuff or stuff about sex, and there's people are saying, oh, Chris the Capo, he's a bit spicy. It's like, no, that's not me at all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, and you do want your work to kind of reflect yourself in some way. Like I've had this myself, right? In terms of like, I had like a blog where I was just kind of like writing thoughts about like, I guess it was more of a social anthropological type of thing, whatever. And even with the Vinyl Collective, this has happened. And I'll get DMs like, oh yeah, great stuff, but you should talk about like current topics, or you should talk about like dating and stuff like that. I'm like, bro, like, what do you mean? Like not only is this not the theme of the show, like it wouldn't even fit. I'm not even on that. Like, yeah, we're gonna go straight from, oh yeah, here's Drake and Kendrick Lamar to, oh yeah, you know that one time when we went to like Box Park, like, what do you want me to do? How am I gonna lay that up? Like, it's just so stupid. It's so stupid. So yeah, I 100% understand you on that one, man.
Yeah, the integrity of being in this and being someone that produces content is hard at times. It's so hard at times. I think I found myself slipping. I've slipped about twice.
Of course,
where there was one time on radio, funny enough, where someone baited me up about something, basically about me being on a date with someone, about seeing someone else at that time.
Oh God.
Yeah, and then that girl was listening, locked in, and she was like, "So you was on a date with someone else this day?" And I was like, "And how? Oh, like, why?" And then there was another time where I shared an embarrassing story, once on a podcast, and someone listened. And they actually said, you know what, I actually didn't want you to tell that story. I was like, you know what, I do apologize. My bad. Yeah, so from them two experiences, I said, nah, I'm just going to call it sitting safe and sitting PG. But there's certain things, if I was to speak about, let me speak about myself.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Where I look silly and things like that. But I don't want to out anybody else. And yeah, it's mainly just about relationships and sex. I just do not talk about. I cannot. If there's no camera, I'm not going, yeah, cool, no problem. We can talk the things.
Yeah.
But anything that's recorded.
No, 100%. And I don't like when again, I'll go just kind of relate again where I think there was one episode in the Vinyl Collective where I feel like I got drawn out to talk about something. It wasn't even anything wild. It was just intimate. Like it was just something that I wouldn't necessarily talk about. And the person just met, like it's something I spoke of like off camera, and someone just mentioned it in the conversation. And obviously you kind of have to roll with it because you know we're recording all that stuff. And we had a guest and stuff like that. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like it wasn't, you didn't have to shoehorn that in, but whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I 100% get it. Like, I feel like you do have to set boundaries in terms of what you are willing to talk about, not talk about. Also, you still have to kind of reserve part of your life, especially as front facing as you are. You do have to reserve a bit of your life for yourself. I think everyone deserves that for sure. Yeah, man. So again, I'm gonna go back to Rinse, right? So during this time, and again, you're a big grime fan, you used to spit and all that stuff. One of your favorite rappers, of course, is Ghetts.
The best.
And again, you're someone like I said before, you're someone who's quite charismatic. You don't even like and much on like when you're talking, like you're very quite well polished, but then you get your favorite artist in the building, right? You're interviewing your favorite artist, crazy experience. So this is about 2020 or so, just for Halloween, right? So Ghetts is in the building. I think this is when IC3 just dropped.
IC3 just dropped.
Yeah, IC3 just dropped, right? So now you're speaking to him, and it's morning time, and you're doing that cool thing where it's like, what you say? What was this like now? Like it's a full circle moment. What was that like for you?
I've done it. I've completed it. I've completed it. Honestly, no word of a lie. See, when I got into content creating, I said there's two people that I want to interview. And once I interview these two people, I've completed my objective. Gigs and Ghetts. Those are the only two people that I said. Everyone else, big up, no disrespect, always love.
Yeah.
But there was certain sub quests that were in the way. So like Blade Brown, that was someone I always wanted to speak to. You know, there was so many other people that were sub quests where like, You feel me? I would love to, but gigs and Ghetts were the main two. And when that interview was going on, in my head, I was just thinking, flipping hell, this is it now. Like, this is it for me personally. I don't even care about the big numbers and anything along those lines. In my head, I was just thinking, this is my favorite artist who I've literally listened to from a child, from secondary school till college to university to working life. This is an artist that I've grown with, and he's right in front of me speaking to me. I was like, this is mad. This is crazy. This is mad. But yeah, that's all I was thinking. And it was one of the most surreal moments. And even now, to the friendship that I have with Ghetts as well, that guy is one of the most selfless, but one of the most hardworking people ever. He has one of the most cleanest and purest of hearts. Some of the conversations we speak about, you would be surprised. You'll be so surprised.
Yeah.
We speak about everything from always music. We always talk about music. Where funny enough, I've been a trusted opinion, a trusted person to give my opinions, my views, my critiques to him, which are very few. But there's times where I'll listen to, like when Conflict of Interest, before that came out, he sent me the link for it and said, bro, I need you to listen to this. Let me know what you think and be honest with me. Sent me the link. And I remember I took long to get back to him. And he texted me, my brother, I'm nervous. Like, you haven't responded back to me yet. Then we spoke in depth about everything. To the point of when he recorded, even before Conflict came out, again, when he recorded Hop Out, I was in the studio that day where he recorded the tune. There's a freestyle that he done for Daily Paper, his Daily Paper freestyle, that I was in the studio when he recorded that. Funny enough, I was in the studio when he recorded Anakin for this new album.
Crazy.
I was in the studio for that. And yeah, so many other tunes. The Shaka tune, he played that for me time ago as well. That has been even Laps. I remember when he recorded that and he played me the demo of it, and he said, I don't even know if I want to release this. I don't know if I'm looking at him like, brother, you madman, like, bring this out, bro.
Yeah.
But at this point, it was literally just one verse and Moonchild Sonelli's part.
Yeah.
So to have someone like that as a peer, yeah, we speak about music, we speak about faith and religion, we speak about the creative space overall, we speak about fitness, we speak about battle rap, we speak about so many things, and some of the conversations that I have with him, I sometimes have to take myself out as a fan and think, flipping hell, you know, you're in a trusted of where you can speak to this guy about anything.
Yeah.
And there's deep, real questions I've asked him and where he's given me the real answers. And I'm like, brother, I respect you so much, but also I respect the fact that you trust me enough to know I will never air anything out and I will always stay true and just keep that to myself. But yeah, man, Ghetts is one of the most, even the advice that he's given me on a few things and how inspiring he's been. That man is a man that just deserves it all, man. Like, he is generally a GOAT. Generally a GOAT. And yeah, that's my guy, man. Just to think that all happened from presenting.
Yeah.
And just being a fan. And one thing I said to him is that regardless of, yeah, I have your number and we can talk and stuff, but I will always be a supporter and a fan more than anything. So like this album, I said to him, don't send it to me. That I don't want to, because he was telling me, yo, come back, come listen to it. And I wanted to, but part of me was like, I want to be surprised. I still want to be surprised, bro. I want that element of when it turns 12 o'clock on Thursday, when it turns to Friday midnight, I want to be surprised. And even with the album, I said to him, nah, I want to buy it. Like, I want to buy the album, you know. But yeah, that guy will always be, I'll always still be a fan, man. And just, yeah, he's a genuine, clean-hearted guy. Genuine, clean-hearted guy, man.
And if anyone is thinking, nah, it can't be that intimate. Funny enough, when you was on the Vinyl Collective a couple of years ago, and we were speaking about battle rap, and then I think you said you sent something to him about like give me a battle rap to listen to. I think Ghetts was asking, and he just said thank you and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Fun fact for those who don't know, Chris is actually credited on Conflict of Interest, aren't
Yes. That surprised me, man. When I saw that, I looked at him and was like, oh, thank you. Like, thank you, bro. So yeah, man, that is, I think that's one thing I've said it because I've got the hard copy. I need to get the vinyl. I need to buy the vinyl, but I've always said that when I move to my home, my proper home,
Of course,
I
yes.
want to frame it. That's one of the things that I want to frame. So yeah, man. Big up Ghetts, man. That's my guy, man. That's my guy.